let's just keep watching the stream client. Maybe somebody shows up. Until then, I'll just have a strange recording. Oh, where am I going? What am I? Okay, I think we're going to mostly fall back. Let's run back to base and see what's happening from there. Oh, this game is pretty. Okay, can we remember what we were doing? I think I had a printer of some sorts. And I've got resin, I've got compound. Okay, let's go see what we want to build. I think we want a research station soon. Yeah, let's go for this actually. I don't have one yet, eh? No. Okay. Okay, once I've got that going, I need... What do I need? A platform for it to stand on. Oh, it's a little warm in here. How would I build this up? And then as soon as it's done building, it turns into a tiny cute little package. Ah, we have a whole one viewer on the stream. Hello there. Well, assuming you decide to join in chat and not just lurk, which you're welcome to do, I'll get to greet you by name. Until then, let me just get this out the way, and then, well, I'd like to have a conversation about mindfulness, although it might be tricky if I'm the only one talking. In the meantime, I want a large platform. That one. Let's see. Wait, oh, I've got to not stand in the way of the large platform. There we go. And a large platform for me, please. Ooh, we're up to 2 viewers, and I still don't know who you are. I feel like this is a mystery game at the moment. Do I get any points if I can guess your names? So, well, I guess if we're talking about mindfulness, now seems like a good moment to get going on that while I'm watching my platform build up. Maybe just out of curiosity, do either of the two of you happen to know what mindfulness is? Or do you practice it already? Or is it something you've heard of before? It's something I use a fair amount as a therapist. It's something that we promote for people to get into the practice of, as it can be quite a healthy practice for people who might otherwise not find that a daily part of their everyday living. Let's go pick up this. So the short and sweet of mindfulness, we're typically just trying to help people be a little more consciously aware of things. What we find is people are often they're often unconsciously aware of the things that they're thinking and saying and doing and perceiving and the world around them, but they leave a lot of it to be quite an unconscious process. And we find that if you just become a little more aware of it yourself, it gives you a lot of power to influence the world around you and influence, what can we say, like how the world around you affects you as well, and I guess how the two of you interact with each other. Okay, I built this lovely research chamber. Now I need something to research with it. That might be what I'm looking for. Let's go have a look. So, for example, one of the things I'm mindful of is the way that I'm feeling currently, which admittedly there's a little bit of a something, I don't think what it's called, it's something a little bit close to embarrassment, because I guess you can feel a little foolish to talk to yourself, seemingly. Come back. No. Okay, well, there's some newfound embarrassment coming in as I'm playing soccer with my resources. Let's drop that back here. And otherwise, feeling fairly calm. I've actually just had the thought, I wonder if this chat is working. I just want to keep an eye. No, okay, I see there's nothing else going on. I just thought for a moment that maybe my chat window wasn't behaving itself, and that was why I wasn't seeing anything from you guys. But I guess you're just lurking for now. That's all right, though. But yeah, so typically when we're looking to actively practice mindfulness, because it becomes a bit of a making things conscious becomes somewhat of an unconscious process, that we become a little better at being aware of things without consciously making an effort to do so. But when we're helping people to start that off as its own conscious practice, its own practice that they're aware of, we often will get people to sit still for a moment and just take stock of what's around them. So take a moment to have a look around, see what you... So for example, a common exercise in line with mindfulness, and might have to do with other practices as well, is they'll often talk about a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 process, that they'll say, look, sit somewhere comfortably and get an idea of 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can hear, 3 things you can smell, 2 things you can touch, something you can taste, something along those lines. The particular numbers and which senses they go with are not that important. It's more just the conscious act of paying attention to what your senses are telling you at the time. Now, I can admit, while I'm in the middle of playing this, I'm often focusing a little too hard on what I need to be doing in the game in order to not die, like falling down this cliff, for example. Ooh, something shiny. So it means that I don't always necessarily have the most mindful of approaches while I'm in the middle of a game. Maybe I can pause that for a moment, and just to give you an idea of the sort of thing I might do. So as you can see, the breathing thing is a pretty automatic thing to me as well, but I'd often encourage clients that, or anybody that hasn't practiced it, to take a moment to take a deep breath and then just start the process at their own leisure. And usually I'm there to encourage people to keep a breath or keep their breathing going in between. But so, okay, if I were to go through my own 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 process in no particular order of senses, I would say the things I can see around me at the moment. There's a patch on my wall that hasn't been painted. There's... Hello, Uncle Bill. I see you've joined us. There's a chat message from Uncle Bill, which I wasn't paying attention to before. There's a little light next to my webcam, which is telling me that the webcam is apparently on. There's my computer setup, which is a little higgledy-piggledy at the moment, but it's all good. And there's a jumble of cables off to the side of my desk of things that I haven't organized very well. So that's roughly, I wasn't counting too hard, but it's hard to count to 5. That's 5 things I can see. 4 things I can hear. I can hear my breathing, and I do kind of wonder if we can hear it on the microphone as well. Hello, Dante's Guide. Nice to see you there. Now I know who 2 of my 3 are, so there's still 1 mystery person left. I can hear the sound of my voice, which admittedly sounds a little dry. I think I should have probably brought a glass of water along with me, but that's going on a tangent. I can hear the very gentle music of Astroneer in the background, which I've got to say is one of my favorite features of a game. And I can hear my laptop's fan blowing madly in the background. Yep, and that's me for what I can hear. Well, then maybe what I can feel. I can feel my palms are a bit sweaty, probably a little bit of anxiety. Doing the whole streaming thing is a relatively brand new thing. Makes me a little bit anxious. I can feel the armrests under my arms. They're pretty solid. They're providing good resistance. And I can feel this kind of a matte texture on my mouse. And so I go through the exercise that way to go, okay, I'm seeing this, I'm hearing this, I'm feeling this, I'm smelling this, I'm tasting this. And all it has to do is it's there to help me get in touch with what's going on with my senses. And in particular, it can often help to take your mind off of what's going on around you. So, for example, for somebody like me that's prone to a bit of anxiety, we might get quite caught up in thoughts around whatever's causing the anxiety and tend to, well, so there's a lot of potentially problematic thought processes, but basically this exercise in mindfulness can just help to take your mind off of what's distressing you or causing you anxiety or whatever the difficult feeling or sensation is, and just help to focus you a little bit more. And maybe in the process it kind of relieves a little bit of that whatever feeling was attached to whatever else you were focusing on before. In doing this, I've paid no attention to why I came back here. Why did I come back here? But yeah, so that's a very basic exercise in mindfulness that I find, particularly for people that are in a moment of very high distress, either feeling intensely anxious or particularly down or something of that sort, we'd often use an exercise like that just to help them to feel, so a little wary of using the word, but a little more normal, I suppose. Oh, there's a big hole in the ground. Are we going down? The hole in the ground ends down here. Well, let's dig down a little further. There must be something good down here. Aha! Yeah, Dante, that sounds very much like a mindfulness exercise or a meditation exercise. It seems like you're fairly familiar with the idea then, if that's the kind of line that you know how to use. So you'll find there's actually a lot of mindfulness exercises that use similar sort of language, often focused around breathing, just because it's something quite common that we know, well, is hopefully always going to be there, but just that it's a fairly essential thing. It's a physiological process which has a large effect on how we're feeling. Short breath meditation. I can't sound familiar. Okay, short breath meditation. Yeah, no, definitely. So our breathing can absolutely have a huge effect on our state of mind. And for any kind of mindfulness act, we find that it can be useful to just, number one, to have the breathing in a regulated and calm way, but also to fixate your focus on it for a short time, just to distract you from whatever else might be keeping your attention focused. I'm very curious what those lights are that are floating down there. I'm trying to zoom in with my scroll wheel, and I realize that's a bit silly. Okay, let's go find out what's down there. So Dante, by the sounds of that, I'm guessing you've had a one or two brush-ins with mindfulness. Is it something you practice regularly or just something that you know of? While I wait for that answer and maybe collect my thoughts, I'm going to try and find myself a way down into this hole. And with my... nope. Oh dear, that's not a good place to be. How did I do this? Oh dear, that's poison gas, and I don't want to be near that. Oh dear, we're just going to go dig our way up there. So if I stay down here, that stuff's going to kill me. There we go. Okay, I found oxygen. I can breathe again. Second part of it, count the breaths, inhale only, then exhale when you get to 10. Learn to be a pretty calm person, and the breathing helps. I gotta say, I always find the description of being calm an interesting one. Ooh, that's not a great view. Let's try that again. Ooh, no, I'm just getting myself lost in here now. Let's dig a bit of a bigger hole, and then at least I'm not going to feel so claustrophobic. Somewhere up here. No. I had a spot that was close enough just now. And now... Wait, have I... I think I'm about to go above ground again, so that'll probably solve my issue of running out of oxygen at least. There we go. Alright, let's get ourselves out of this tunnel. Then we can focus again. I think potentially the idea of being calm versus the concept of experiencing anxiety are not mutually exclusive concepts. You can have both of them at the same time. You can feel incredibly anxious and still be calm. That maybe, well, in some ways, being calm is somewhat of a behavior and not just a feeling. And I find it quite useful to distinguish between those two for people, to say it's okay to feel anxious and to exercise the control you have over your behavior and over your thoughts to be calm while feeling anxious. Okay, let's take out those little nasty guys that were trying to kill me just now. I think there's more of them here somewhere. We're going to find our way. There we go. Can I reach them from here? There we go. Okay. And now I'm going to calmly place these tethers down and find myself some more of those nasty buggers. I think... Alright, let's just do this. Make ourselves a pathway down there. And... Okay, I seem to have made it down the hole without dying too terrible a death. Come here. Come here. Oh. There we go. But yeah, so I think oftentimes... Oh, there's the nasty guy. Yeah, okay, good. He does just die. But so as a starting exercise, I think it's got the benefits of helping you to stay calm, because, like Dante is saying, that breathing can really be useful in oh, where did I fall into? Those breathing exercises and just a general breathing practice can be something that really helps you to keep your calm, and can potentially stave off a lot of feelings of anxiety. More nasty plants for me to kill. There we go. I'm not killing them, I'm just relieving them of their presence here. But wait, I want that. There we go. Okay, I'm finding all the things down here. Wouldn't mind a light, actually, that I could see down here a little better. I feel like maybe it's just in the early parts of the game it's quite dark, but I feel like I'm used to it being quite a lot lighter than it is down here currently. But yeah, so where was I? Something about mindfulness. Yeah, basically using a practice like that can help to, we'll often speak about helping a person ground themselves. Hey, Coder, nice to see you here, man. I'm flexing my muscles a little bit at the flexing thing, at the streaming thing, and hoping that from next week I'll start making it a little bit more of a regular process. So yeah, I think it can really help to use those exercises to make yourself feel a little more grounded, and potentially when emotions are high, but even just as a general practice to make a habit of, or attempt to use from time to time, it can really help in developing an overall mindset that can be quite a lot calmer, as Dante was saying. There Coda, I've just realized I don't think I even really twigged before that we've both got the lizard thing going. I just dropped that, but oh well. Yeah, I think you saying that is the first time I'm realizing we're both lizards. Well done. Okay. I've got a whole lot of laterite to melt and no smelter to melt it in. So this should be useful. But we'll take it back to base in the meantime anyway. But yeah, so what we often find using mindfulness in a mental health approach is that we can often, as we encourage the practice and as we get people to be more and more mindful of their surroundings and their connections with other people and their own thought processes, their own emotions, their own behaviors, it can often be really useful in helping people to pick up patterns in those sorts of things. So for example, that's a research sample. For example, some people might experience something like a lot of depression, but they might not always be aware of some of the common factors that are linking into that depression. And so mindfulness can be a really key practice in that, to help bridge the link between what might otherwise feel like an unexplained experience to something that suddenly has a strong connection to something else, and in making that connection has, let's put these here, that holds then a lot of potential for the person to either change as they need it to change, or at the least just to accept that that's the way it's going. Wanting a smelter, but I'm not sure if I have the tech for it yet. Let's go find out. Never remember where most of the research in this game is, other than these are, okay, blue is unlocked, so I don't need to check blue. No, those are just mods. Those are drill things. I don't need dynamite right now. I've heard good things about this packager, but I'm not going to jump on that just yet. I don't want power generators. Yeah, no. Shredder, tractor trailer, no. If anyone can tell me where I happen to find a smelter, that would be great. But yeah, so to me, I really find for almost all clients, mindfulness is really, and honestly for anybody, mindfulness is really something that I encourage people to practice. I think a lot of therapists like to talk about things like meditation, and I know that can have quite the offsetting effect on a lot of people. People like to think of that as quite a hippie practice or an Eastern practice or a religious thing, and while I don't think it's really anything of the sorts, if we just package the practice in other labels, people start to realize that it can be actually something really useful to them. Coda, how's technology affected your mindfulness in your experience? I know for me it's hard to be present when it's so easy to be somewhere else, even if virtually. Coda, I think there's well, like every psychologist likes to answer, it depends. There's definitely good things about technology and mindfulness, in that in some ways, technology teaches us to be quite readily focused on something. It's amazing how much focus we're able to give that one little piece of phone technology in our hands. And maybe rather than seeing it as an evil, we just need to understand that it's something we need to broaden out from just focusing on a phone to being able to extend that to focusing on whatever you choose to focus on. What I like about technology is that people understand the connection between what they're interested in and what they enjoy focusing their attention on. And then it's just a matter of helping them to realize that other things that they can choose to focus on can also be of benefit to them. I think once they start to understand that, then it becomes a lot easier to just take that attention that was directed on technology previously and put it into something more useful. But I definitely get the idea that it can also be quite the distraction, and definitely it can be. It's ironic because we can be quite unaware of how technology steals our attention away from things. And really that gives us a prime opportunity to make ourselves aware of that, just noticing the fact that, hey, my phone tends to take my attention a lot. Reddit and YouTube seem to take my attention quite a lot. That's already its own exercise in mindfulness. And that's step one in the process of going, right, I'm aware of this situation. Am I happy with that? Do I want to do anything to change it? Do I want to leave it as is? Do I want to remove it completely? And, developing the steps going forwards. Whereas prior to that step, I think maybe a lot of people become absorbed in technology but don't really appreciate the effect it has on them. So Coda, I guess in a way what you're saying is you are quite aware of the effect that technology has on you, and that's really cool. Okay, I had a bunch of this. I think I put it on a storage platform here. I think this is it's for aluminum. Okay. Still have to get used to that. In my head, it's still aluminium. But unfortunately, when you're playing American games, you've got to get used to American pronunciations. So let's go make us some aluminum, shall we? Okay, it is on. Nope. Come here. And there. And... we've got more of it. Nope. Can I? No, I can't. Okay. Okay, I think we'll leave that for them. Well, one of the things I really love about technology is that it gives us the possibility of spreading knowledge about mindfulness and mindfulness practices to a lot of people that might not otherwise have had them. Sorry, Coda, I didn't see. One of the things I've been working on lately is being deliberate. It's okay to spend time on Reddit. Well, yes, but it's important that I make that choice instead of realizing hours later that it happened. And I really like that idea of making the choice to do something. There's a lot of words that we can sort of throw around in this process of awareness and mindfulness and consciousness and choices, and I think there's a lot of overlap. They're not necessarily the same things, but there's a lot of overlap between all those ideas that we do have choices in that. And if we are not aware and conscious and mindful in the process, then we're effectively giving up our choices. We're hey, Peregrine, nice to see you. Wow. I always love this. I always go online thinking, oh, well, it's probably just going to be me playing a game and wasting my bandwidth uploading. And then a bunch of people show up. So it's really cool. I wanted to put this here. And actually, I didn't want to put those down. I wanted to keep them in here. There's me not being very mindful of what I was wanting and working on auto. But yeah, Coda. So definitely, wait, there we go. And that one over there. There we go. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Definitely, that idea of making the choice for yourself. Sometimes we make the choice to say, right, I want to spend, well, hopefully not too often, but I want to spend hours on Reddit or follow this line of Wikipedia articles or watch these videos on YouTube or whatever it is. But more often than not, we make some initial choices about perhaps looking into something because it looks interesting, and then leaving the rest of the choices to almost an unconscious thought process rather than being mindful of the process and actively taking part in the decision making in that. I think it's tricky because at the same time, when people are mindful, they can be quite harsh and quite unforgiving on themselves to say, oh no, I'm not allowed to spend hours on Reddit. I'm not allowed to, take part in these things that I would otherwise find a lot of enjoyment in. And sometimes in that way, our unconscious is a little kinder to us, that it gives us the freedom perhaps to enjoy these things a little more. So in that mindfulness, it's not necessarily to say that consciousness is the most important thing and something we must always do, but rather just that it's nice to actively practice our own decisions and our own decision making and choices. And what does this need? Copper. Of course it needs copper. Do I not have anything that needs aluminum to make? It's going to make me sad, actually. Let's see if my printer has something. I've got all this aluminum. I figure I should be able to use it for something. No, not in here anyway. It's amazing how my building priorities are just, does it use this new resource I found? If so, I want it. But no. Okay, well, I'm going to smelt a bunch of aluminum and not actually use it for much currently, but that's okay. Let's pop this in storage for now, and we can go, we can go find some new things in a moment. Yeah, that's fine. Does anybody remember which way I was running? Peregrine, that's quite right. I was being mindful of that, but I don't know if it's necessarily a stretch. I think it's, we've come to adopt that word mindfulness. We've come to take its sort of popular use in that people like to speak about mindfulness of certain things. And really, when we're focused on something, we are being mindful of that thing. But I guess the constructed concept of mindfulness, we've developed this idea of being aware and being conscious of very particular things. And so we dismiss anything else, like my focus on this game. We dismiss that as, no, that's not mindful. Hey, Casey Lou, how you doing? Good to see you here. And I think it's a topic for another day, I think, but we have a huge propensity as people to be incredibly critical of ourselves, and it's not always a bad thing, but I think we do often push it quite far to the point where it can be quite a negative process for us and can have quite negative effects on us. I spotted something over here. Oh, and I'm apparently getting up close and personal with it. You please. Yeah. I wanted to finish mining this. That's what I was doing. I will admit, I'm still adapting to the idea of being, how can we say, of focusing on something like a game and being mindful of things like chat and talking to people at the same time, and essentially of not hyper-focusing on one thing. But it's a work in progress. We're getting there, and I think with practice it'll become more of a normal thing. Casey Lou, I'm glad to hear that you're good. Am I going to go all the way up there just to get those last few bits in the dark? Give me oxygen, please. Okay, let's collect the last of this laterite, hopefully. And then we'll keep being a little more mindful of other things afterwards. I feel like, oh, sorry. Dante, I missed something that you're saying there. Where? Oh, there. Sorry, Dante. I've been setting daily goals on learning. Like when I get off work, I must do X before anything else. Now, Dante, we're getting into, you're tapping into one of my favorite lines of psychology related stuff there. I always find it quite interesting, when people set these goals for themselves, the way they phrase it, the way you've said there. When I get off work, I must do X before anything else. I'm curious, is there some sort of either a consequence that you've decided on, or otherwise perhaps a bit of an unconscious consequence of what if you don't? Just out of curiosity, if you don't do X before anything else, does that play any role in your thinking processes or how you're feeling? Or because what I tend to find is a lot of people use those sorts of statements, those I must do X, as a gateway to being quite self-critical. So something along the lines of, if I don't do, or I must do X, and if I don't, that makes me lazy, no good, worthless, useless, and so on and so on and so on. Let's grab these. And I'd not to say at all that it's a bad thing to set those goals for yourself, but I wonder if it would be possible to achieve the same goals without necessarily having such a demanding thought process on it. Could it be something along the lines of, I want to do X before anything else, or doing X before anything else would really fit in with the goals that I have in mind, or something that's a little less demanding on yourself, but also still producing that awareness of doing this thing is something that I want, is working towards my goals, is being productive in my life. And to me, it's there's a lot of concepts that I would use in a therapeutic sense, and in my own life as well. That being mindful is definitely one of them, and then almost in a way, mindfulness is a very broadly applicable tool. One of the things I like to apply it to is being mindful of those very demanding thought processes. I must do this. I have to do this. I'm not allowed to do that. I shouldn't do this thing. Hi, Elgaso. Hey, it's funny. I feel like I know a few of these names. I can't imagine where I know you guys from. I'm going to stand around the smelter and patiently wait for everything to get done. That way I will kill two birds with one stone. I will stop running around like an idiot, and I can talk to you guys at the same time. Yeah, we all wonder. Dante, no videos, no gaming, no Netflix, just a small 15 to 30 minutes of tutorial videos. I just know if I don't do it before anything else, it'll be past midnight and I'll still not have done X. Now, see, Dante, I like the thought process in there that you're connecting behaviors and you're understanding and being mindful of those processes. The only difference, or the only detail I change about that, is just the way you express it to yourself. Instead of that, I must do X, or I must do X before whatever, what if it were just, I want to do X, I plan to do X, I'm going to do X, but that there isn't necessarily a critical consequence for if you don't do it. And you still apply just as much effort as you would to get it done, but without necessarily holding that stick above your head that goes, well, if I don't do it, oh, wow, this is a terrible thing. And Dante, what I've realized recently, I was reading, so it's always amusing to me that I find it so easy to talk about yeah, exactly, Peregrine. It's my priority. It's important to me. I want to do it. I love to do it. It's good for me to do it. Everything other than, and I'm careful here because I don't want to say you shouldn't use demanding language, because really then I'm using a demanding statement about demanding language, which is not very productive. It's kind of counterintuitive in that sense. But so look at me. I'm running down the hill, and I'm not being very mindful at all about why I'm doing it. I think I just wanted to move at that point. And look, nothing wrong with needing the stick. Although I will say we tend to know in psychology that the carrot is a far stronger and a far more useful force in developing these kinds of habits than the stick will ever be. I think we have a propensity to overuse the stick, and potentially we could try to use the carrot a little more. The carrot there might be, if I do this thing, then I'm going to reward myself with an episode on Netflix, for example. I think let me go plant this quickly. Here amongst these other plants should be lovely. Okay. Rephrase your dialogue about it to something more positive. Coda, I will say, I can see how it's seen as a positive thing, and the only thing that makes me wary about that is I'm very, very cautious around. There's kind of a pop psychology concept of. There's a pop psychology concept of think positively and wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to smile today. I'm going to be happy, and I don't think it does necessarily any harm, but I think this concept of expectations, of being demanding on yourself, doesn't necessarily. Okay, maybe being demanding is often connected to a very negative thing. So there is a positive aspect to that. But I wouldn't want to confuse this concept of changing demanding thoughts to, I'm not necessarily trying to sell people to make them more positive thoughts, but maybe just to turn what started off as a demanding thought rather into a preferential thought. I want something, I prefer something, I like something, I wish for something to be that way. It's a topic I really actually want to spend a lot more time talking about sometime. If you're ever interested at all, there was a famous psychologist called Albert Ellis, and he developed kind of the predecessor to CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. It was a therapy process called rational emotive behavioral therapy. It's still something quite well used and well researched, and something that I use myself as a therapist extensively. Let's see if we can not die here quickly. But if you ever want to read up more on this whole idea of expectations, he writes a lot about a process about a concept that he calls the ABCs. And he talks a lot about this whole demands versus preferences concept there. It's something that kind of similar to Dr. Mick's lessons that he does from time to time. I've got a plan in my head of doing a stream about that at some point. Hey, Sith Panda, how you doing? Let's see. I was thinking more, I want to or will do X when I get home instead of I. Yeah, and that's exactly it, Coder. I want to do something, I will do something, but there's not necessarily that punishment attached at the end that I must do it because if I don't, insert really negative thing, but rather just, I want to do this thing, and if I don't, I'll do it again the next time. I'm likely always going to have another opportunity to do that same thing. What is this? I thought there was something shiny there. Ooh, lots of it. But yeah, no, exactly that. And definitely, yeah, demand has a negative connotation. But it's so hard sometimes to talk about these things without talking about a million different related concepts, which each kind of, in my head, take a bit of time to describe, but I kind of want to talk about all of them at once. I'm already veering off of mindfulness to talk about this whole demands and expectations thing. But anyway, we'll get there one step at a time. Hey, check me out. That's really cool of you to come. Thank you. And as I say hello to somebody, my mind goes blank. Okay, well, for now, I'm going to run back up to base and deposit these two little things. I'm really not playing the most efficient game of Astroneer. I'm doing a lot of running around for almost no purpose, but that's okay. Let's go back up. I gotta say, whenever I'm in this game and I'm down in the caves doing something, and then I run outside and there's daylight outside, even though it's a video game, it still just kind of has a mood lifting effect when I get out here and I see sunshine and greenery, and I think my poor brain gets a little claustrophobic in those caves. Okay, let's pop these on the smelter. But yeah, so I think Peregrine, those spins to the conversation are what make it a conversation. Otherwise, I think streamers would just sort of record themselves and upload it if they didn't want the conversation. To me, streaming is about the conversation, not just giving a monologue. As much as I feel like I can be pretty good at monologues, but yeah. This light thing is totally weird, I know. Ooh, there's something. Oh, hello. I want you. Alright, now the problem is I'm about to dig this thing out and it's going to fall off the cliff as soon as I do. So let's dig down this side. We'll make a little platform for it to stand on. I'm assuming it's not actually going to work, but as in the rover is not actually going to work, but I'd like to have the option to try just how it does work. Then, okay, have we got enough platform underneath it? Oh, and the tire falls off. Okay, clearly it's not working. Yeah, no, okay. Yeah, detritus, never mind. It can fall into the hole then, that's fine. Nope. Did I catch it? Ooh. Sometimes the physics in this game is, ooh, I can't actually pick it up. Yeah, no, I can't. Is it just gonna balance on the edge there? I can save the tire. Not that I can use it, but I can save it. Yeah, I checked. Yeah, for me, I will say, with the only downside that I always feel a bit stupid that I'm doing all this talking and everybody else is typing. But I think I imagine in future like having two people talking and then, you know, being able to respond to people would make it a really nice spin of this. Coda the poor rover, don't worry. We will rebuild. We will find its replacement at some point. And I think I might actually have the blueprints for a rover already. Let me just double check. No, not in here. I can't imagine the small printer's got it, but let's go see. Oh, rover seat. That's what I was thinking of. I don't think I actually want a rover at the moment, though. I don't know what I actually want, but got the smelting furnace. I think I need to go research some more things before I can do much more. Yeah, Peregrine, I definitely get that idea of staying focused can be tricky. As you can tell, I'm not always doing the best at that, but I'm making some efforts. I'm going to stand still for a bit while I collect my thoughts. Oh, actually, I'll tell you what we'll do. I think I've done it in one of my maps. If not here, then I'm going to do it quickly. What I like to do, okay, no, I don't think I've done it here, so I'm going to build this quickly for us. What I like to do is have a little ramp up into the sky. So we just go on a walk up into the nothingness. So it gives you a really cool view when you get to the top. Why am I? There we go. And hopefully, as I'm doing that, I can just stop and think a little bit. But yes, give me oxygen, please. So yeah, what I really love about mindfulness is, like, on its own, it's such a useful tool. Before we even add anything else into the mix. Oh, did I run out of? I did. I ran out of tethers. Let's go slide down the hill. That's my favorite part. There we go. Nope, a little too far. Make ourselves some more tethers. Tether bundle, please. So we're going to have our ramp up into the middle of nothingness here. And then we can make that sort of our stand and sit there and do nothing while I think about what I'm supposed to be saying. Okay. Oh, tether. How it just balances on the edge there. I'm actually probably going to run out of soil as I do this as well. But yeah, yeah, the thing is, to me, with mindfulness, like, on its own, it's such a powerful force just as is, but then combining it with so many other tools, really, while a lot of people might jump to a lot of, especially like CBT, oh, no, I've run out of soil. Oh yeah, sliding, okay, well, let's stand up here and take in the landscape. Up here. Oh, there's something there. Just taking the landscape around us, and we'll decide what we're doing just now. But yeah, what I really like about mindfulness is how well it plays with other tools that we can use. There's so many other things that we can use to help us with our emotions, with our thought processes, with our behavior, and mindfulness is kind of the key to unlocking so many of those tools at their most effective. Check, I'm trying to... Oh, it's a... It took me a moment to realize what your emoji were there. I do like the Mr. I'm just going to label him Mr. Muscle Cat. I think that's a good name for him. But yeah, mindfulness really does just unlock the potential of so many other tools that we can use. What was I doing down here? Yeah, I'm wonderfully demonstrating to you guys how not to be mindful of certain things. Let's drop this off. And drop that off, and one more time, drop that off. And then I want research. I probably don't have enough bytes to research what oh, and I needed soil. It's amazing. And I'm not going to use either of those just yet. Okay, I need to go dig some holes in the ground. So I'm going to go, ooh, hello. But we can use this pretty boy to give us a research object. I did build a research thing, I just haven't used it yet, so I can't remember where I put it. Here we go. We're going to plop that lovely item in there. And that'll, 22 minutes, jeez. Okay, I'll have plenty of time to talk to you guys while we wait for that. So yeah, to me, I almost find it's useful with a lot of clients for me to almost get a sense of how much they practice mindfulness as a thing in their own lives, whether it's as a very conscious practice to say, hey, I'm practicing mindfulness, or for some people it's even just something that they've learned to do growing up but haven't really placed the label on it to say, this is me practicing mindfulness, but rather, it's just something that they happen to do. But I like to get a sense of that, because if I find people aren't being very mindful, then it can be really useful to get that practice in place first before we move on to other complementary tools. So I see some cool structures out this way. I'm going to, and some random stuff. More junk, but maybe there's something good on it. One very dead wind turbine. And debris, no, nothing on this one, but I saw, oh, it's a solar panel. Oh, I love these. Let's go over here. Oh, I'm supposed to be collecting soil, and here's me running around on land. Running through your day first thing in the morning be considered mindfulness? You mean as in mentally running through it? I think definitely there's in some ways, I want to apply the label mindfulness to so many things. So in that sense of choosing to mentally decide, right, I'm choosing to think about what I'm planning for today, what I'm doing today, what's happening today, that's absolutely mindfulness. Because to me, mindfulness is about consciously choosing what to focus on, as opposed to, like in this game right now, I was digging up something there, and I'm pointing at the screen so that you guys can see where I'm pointing. But it was an unconscious thing. Unconsciously my mind was going, oh, I need to do something there. But I wasn't consciously thinking to myself, right, there's something I want there. These are the actions I can take. This is how they're going to help me. This is going to be the effects. I was just working on autopilot, which is fine. Ooh, did I just drop this down? Oh, I did. See, there's the lack of mindfulness for you. I was not being mindful of the hole in the floor. But yeah, no, running through your day would most definitely be a very mindful thing to do. What I'd maybe want to build that into is that mindfulness doesn't have to be a once-off practice. It's not something we do, or it doesn't have to be something we do for 5 minutes and then give up on for the rest of the day. Really, we can learn to be more and more and more mindful throughout our day, as opposed to just being mindful for 5 minutes in the morning and then assuming everything will be fine after that. And that's not to say it's a bad thing to just be mindful for 5 minutes, but just that there's so much advantage to extending that mindfulness throughout the day. But yeah, I think to me, I would want to make that almost one of the possible goals of that practice, is to say, for now, I'm being mindful 5 minutes in the morning of my day, but in future, I'd like to get it that throughout the day, I'm actually finding myself quite mindful more often than not of what I'm wanting to achieve today and what's going on and how I'm achieving that and what's distracting me and so on and so on. I'm sure this thing has a plug outlet. There we go. See, because I want to hook this up to my base, but to do that, I'm going to need a lot of extenders, and I think I'm going to have it not be stuck in the floor, otherwise it's not going to be the best solar panel. So yeah, Dante, I would definitely say, being mindful of what you're planning to do that day is a great way to practice the skill. Okay, I'm going to go find out if I've got extenders to see if I can take advantage of this giant solar panel. Let's go see. Oxygen canisters. Oh, actually, I do want another canister. I had resin for that. Are you? Yes. What I would, and I think so. I started a thought off earlier in the stream, and then I completely abandoned it at some point for an unknown reason. But what I was trying to say is I've recently been reading up on a lot of fitness things, and there was a guy talking about it, and he was saying, one of the reasons why people often don't do very well at their fitness ambitions is they go from virtually zero habit of fitness to suddenly saying, right, I'm going to exercise for an hour a day, 5 days a week for the next 20 months and so on and so on. And he says, the amount of you can't really call it a percentage change when it's going from zero, but the amount of change that those people are making is huge. And he says what he'd rather push them to do is to say, right, I haven't been exercising at all. I'm going to start doing one push-up once a week. Just that, just one. Already, percentage-wise, well, we can't quantify it that way, but already it's such a big change. And if we can build from one push-up a week to one push-up a day to, well, I'm already doing one, so I might as well do a few extra, that we can build a habit out of it over time, that rather than necessarily jumping ahead to the point of saying, I'm going to be mindful 24 hours a day, starting at that sort of point where we say, check me out, I have no idea. I don't remember that name, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if that thought had come up with a few different fitness people, because it's a very valid psychological observation. It makes a lot of sense to me that fitness people would, or at least fitness people that know their stuff, would think about that sort of thing. I'm not sure if it was that person or not. I must admit I can't even remember who said it. But I think I always love when I want to use the word mindful in a sentence without actually talking about mindfulness. But it's something I'm becoming quite a lot more mindful of, is saying, right, I want to start this new habit, but if I haven't really been doing much in the way of that habit previously, it's okay to start what would seem to be an incredibly small change and build up from there, that I don't have to make the whole change absolutely straight away. So honestly, I've been trying to do the whole fitness thing myself, and I fell into the same boat. I jumped into, right, I'm going to do so many push-ups and so many sit-ups and so many squats, and I was trying to start like something huge, and I've done it a few times. I've achieved success and then stopped and not done it for months, and then sort of reset my mind of, right, I'm going to do this thing, and the cycle repeats itself. And I think for now, I'm just taking that idea of any little bit. What's going to have more effect in me in the long run is making an attempt on it every day, rather than necessarily achieving the whole goal every day. Because if I make an attempt every day, that I can turn into a habit relatively quickly. So I've just decided we're going to build our bridge up into the sky a little bit more again. And that habit is not a particularly hard one to build, whereas the habit of doing 100 push-ups a day, that's really hard. That really gets to the point very quickly where you just can't. Or at least you convince yourself that you just can't. Okay, this is deceiving. I'm looking at the stuff out here going, that looks close, I could go there, and then realizing it's probably not quite as close as I imagine it is. I can go to the forest, the mountains, or the debris. Which way am I going? Mountains and forests look closer. Peregrine sounds like Casey Lou and I. The one push-up a day? Dante, 5 push-ups before you can play another hour of game. I saw a really cool streamer at one. Wow, a streamer who made a really cool point about that. That I think his stream was just about playing League of Legends, but his specific thing was You know, I think every time he died in game, he did X amount of push-ups, and every time a game was done, he'd do some exercises, and that guy got buff. Like, he kept going, and holy cow, he got buff. Running and stopping for months at a time, hell yes. I've done that far too many times. Even at the moment, you know, I'm going to have a nice little ski down here. Okay. Even at the moment, like, I can think of a fair few things that are things I've tried to start in recent months, and they've faded away. It's like I was dead set before I came over to Canada that I was going to really get into learning American Sign Language. And I've done 10% of the course, and I've left it for so long, I've probably forgotten 50% of that 10%. So, yeah, there are many such things, and yet I try to keep reminding myself there was no idea that I had to do those things, that I must do those things, just that I wanted to do those things. And the fact that I haven't done them, it isn't awful. It's unfortunate. You know, if I had kept doing them, wow, I could have made great progress. But I didn't, and that's okay, because I can pick them up again at whatever point I feel like it. Oh, no, I don't want all of that, just that. Let's build some more tethers. Come back to this. And I want to go down that hole I just saw. I think it was this way. Was it this way? Wait, actually, I should be more mindful, oh god, of... This is going northwest of the base. Okay. So I thought I saw a hole in the ground here I wanted to explore. Was it this one? Yes, it was this one. Oh, no. Little dude is a little too enthusiastic, whereas I want to take things slowly. There we go. Why does this look very man-made? Ooh, I see things. Peregrine Casey, are you guys talking about actual running by any chance? Having real life interfering with running, oh dear. Casey, I'm sorry, it's buffering. Let me have a... Wow, my internet's not the most amazing, so it might not shock me if it's got to do with my internet, but we'll see, I suppose. Oh, excuse me. Okay, this is... Don't really care that much for resin at the moment, but while I'm standing in front of it and not falling down the hole... Oh dear, that would have been bad. How am I planning to approach this? I think I want this size platform going to there. Okay, there we go. Okay, if a few of you are talking about the same idea, then I wonder if it's not my stream doing this rather than your stuff. Let me go have a look and see if there's anything on my side that's doing anything funny. I want... Oh, now I've got to find what I'm trying to close. So what I found is I've got a couple apps that do like to hog my bandwidth if they're given half a chance. Could I'll have a look. I'm not sure if I can change it midstream or if I'd have to kill the stream to change the okay, Dante, well that's good to know. Potentially it's not me, but this is still a work in progress to figure this stuff out. Okay, I'm just going to close. I've got my Google backup running, and I'm just going to close that because I know it likes to hog, especially my upload bandwidth, which seems to just kill everything. Okay, cool. Well, if you guys say that it is working fine for you, I'm going to attempt to take a it's not my fault moment here and carry on with my game. I was getting to them, but I think they're still too far to dig up. Okay, let's dig up some more resin first. I'm curious, seeing as there's a fair few of you that seem to be fairly familiar with mindfulness, I'm wondering if there's any practices that you guys use in particular that you find to be useful ways to help you be more mindful. Thank you. Check me out. Yeah, have a good day. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, I'm curious. That cat with the muscles is not going to stop amusing me, I think. um, okay. Oh, I think we've struck quite the vein of resin here. And as I say that, it dries up. Figures. Can I reach these guys yet? No, I can't. But I do want to dig down to them. Alright, let's dig away some of this so that I can actually get down there. Coder, that's okay. I think as much as it's something that I am fairly familiar with, I do like to get other people's opinions on it, because more often than not, there's ideas out there. Oh, no, no, no. Oh, dear. Okay, that wasn't a good idea. Let us go and kill these guys. And then I wonder if I just plop a tether down here. Do you think? Problem is, if I don't get up there fairly soon, although, wait, here we go. Here's my, I heard something. Hey, check me out as following. Thank you. It's a great moment to do that. Bye, guys, I've got to run, and then I'm getting followed by her. It's kind of, the Twitch language fails a little there, but I really appreciate the follow. Thank you. Oxygen, yes. So, oxygen, it feels like it's an important point to say that, oxygen is really good for good mindfulness. Without it, people find it quite difficult to be mindful, I imagine. Okay, I'm going to collect some of these. Peregrine, wow, that's really cool. So yeah, definitely, I would say meditation is, it's probably, like, to my mind, I don't think there's a more effective way to practice mindfulness. And what I really love about it is that meditation offers so many more benefits than just the mindfulness. And by all means, people don't need to practice it for everything. I think what happens so often with mindfulness is people hear about it through others that use it for all sorts of purposes. And with that, there's often sort of quite a complex perception of Oh, God, what just happened there? Okay, I think I'm about to die. Sorry. No, am I not dead? Okay, I'm not dead, but I don't know where I am. I just fell down somewhere. I feel like I need to stop making the joke of I wasn't being mindful of what I was doing, but it's a little too easy to make the comment. Anyone use the mindfulness app on the iPhone or something similar? Coda, I will say there's a few nice mindfulness apps out there, and meditation apps, actually. Wait, am I? It's always good to connect yourself to oxygen before you start a monologue. So there are quite a few good meditation apps specifically. So there's actually, let me pull it up on my phone just so I can make sure I'm getting the name right. But there's a really nice little meditation app called Buddhify, and it's so as most people have the association, the Buddhists have definitely got the whole meditation thing down. But that said, well, that app, I don't know if it's necessarily Buddhist per se. It's maybe, I think the creators might be, but they don't really take a very Buddhist approach to it, or as in they just take a fairly generic approach to meditation, which I appreciate. Is this one going to fall off? No? The next one's going to fall off. Okay, let's run back up, and we can go deliver this quartz back to base and not die in the process, like we almost did earlier. This is quite a wonky little staircase I've got going into the middle of nowhere here. I think once I get a work light, that'll make life a little bit easier. And I was up here. Oh God, I can just see if I run down there, I'm going to fall down somewhere and die a miserable death. But oh well. It's not actually the end of the world in this game, but I still don't like to do it. Alright, let me run back to base, and then I can catch up with what you guys are saying. Alright, let's see. It was weird when it would trigger and say take a few deep breaths, and I'd think about what's happening and realize I was getting stressed. And that's just it, Peregrine. Like, that's such a mindful thing to do, to just say, hey, you were probably caught up in not being very aware of what was going on. So focused on XYZ that you weren't really conscious of everything that was going on. I think this works. Yeah, it does. Okay. But I do want a piece of this to make a beacon. Okay, there we go. It's quite an interesting idea that it just jumps in the middle of nowhere. I'm wondering, was it connected to like any kind of heart rate or anything, or did it just jump randomly and say, hey, take a deep breath? And look, Peregrine, I'd say in terms of secular Buddhism, there's a strong argument to be made that Buddhism, in many of its forms, is a secular thing. It's, wait, have I got the word right? It's a non-religious thing. Yeah, exactly that. It became a religion to some people later. There are still so many people in the world, and not even only Western people. I'd say the Japanese and Zen Buddhism are probably the most familiar to me. That it's not a religious practice, and in fact, that there's a lot of people that combine like Buddhism with Christianity and Buddhism with other religions. I think a lot of the Buddhists in Japan often combine it with a lot of Shinto religion aspects. So there's a lot of scope for Buddhism not being religious. And as a psychologist, that's the element of it that I'm interested in. I'm not trying to invoke any kind of religion on my clients, but rather to say, look, there's a lot of useful stuff in some of these practices. Of course, a heart rate monitor would make a lot of sense. Yeah, Peregrine. But yeah, so what I really love about meditation is that there's a few things that you're doing when you're meditating. So if you take a fairly generic practice of meditation where people will often say, find a comfortable place to sit, focus on, often the most common version I hear is focus on your breathing, whether it's the feeling of the breathing in your throat or in your chest, or it's the sensation of your chest rising up and down, or the sound of the air coming in and out, or if it's cold, you might even focus on the air, the water vapor coming out in and out of your mouth. Just realized I should put a light on. Give me a sec. Might be useful. It's getting dark this side. But focus on your breathing and try to regulate the breathing. And they'll often say, count to 5, breathing in, hold it for a couple of seconds, and then count to 5, breathing out, and hold it at the end for a couple of seconds, and just repeat that process. And then maybe the general concept in a lot of forms of meditation is to say, while you're focusing on that thing, be aware of what's trying to distract you from that process. So, you'll start thinking, you're sort of breathing in and breathing out, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you keep doing that, these thoughts will jump into your head where you'll go, I wonder what's for dinner tonight. Okay, my breathing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, this is getting a little boring. 1, 2, 3. Oh, another thought. And as you're practicing that breathing, other things jump into your head. And what most practices will suggest to you is that it's okay that those things have jumped into your head. And what they're in effect teaching you there is to be accepting of things that are outside of your control. To say, look, you don't have the amount of control you need to stop those thoughts from jumping into your head. So rather than freaking out about it, going, oh, I mustn't be thinking of anything else, instead to say, look, well, I don't want to be thinking of anything other than this breathing. But if I do, that's okay. The thought comes, I notice it, it's there. And as soon as I've noticed it, I then have the conscious power to go, okay, I'm going to focus back on my breathing again, and to do that again. And you repeat that process, and you focus on your breathing as well as you can. And every time something comes into mind or something distracts you, it's quite okay. You notice it, you're aware of it, and then you move your attention back to what you were choosing to focus on. And what I like in that is it's got elements of acceptance, which on its own is its own topic of conversation for like mental health related things. There's a lot of forms of therapy these days that focus very strongly on the concept of acceptance. And I'm a big adherent to a lot of those. But so it teaches that acceptance. It teaches that mindfulness, to say, be aware of what's going on in your thought process. Be aware of what's distracting you in the world around you and the world inside you. And just notice that. You don't have to do very much about it. Just notice it. We get so fixated on, I have to do something about this. I have to stop this. I have to change this. I have to make it a certain way. And you can see how so many things meld together here. That old thought processes of, or the thought process of, I have to do something, whereas now we're being aware of, okay, this is the thing I want. This is what's interfering with it currently. This is what I'm able to do about it, and making decisions consciously of, do I choose to do something about it or not? Buddhism is at its nature a philosophy which focuses on removing suffering in one's life. I have to admit, I'm not an expert on Buddhism, but I will say in that line, I was convinced there was a concept in Buddhism that talks about, suffering is a constant, or a universal constant, or I'm sure there's a concept in Buddhism about suffering being sort of a part of life, that it's not. My understanding was it's not as much about removing suffering and more about learning to accept the suffering. But I could be wrong there. I think that what I've just said would definitely fit in with my approach as a psychologist. I can't speak to whether or not that's actually Buddhism or not. Peregrine, the sensation, of it going on your upper lip. I must say I'm quite a lot of a mouth breather. I have a lot of sinus issues that come and go all the time. So I think growing up, I just learned it's much easier to breathe through my mouth than bother with all the sinus issues. But yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I find it's a good way to develop mindfulness, although I do know the struggle with my ADD and meditating. And Peregrine, there's one of my favorite things to me, is that you're talking about ADD and meditating as if they're incompatible things. And really, I don't think, I need to phrase this in the correct way. Well, I'm trying to anyway. I think people misunderstand the point of meditation. People see it as, I need to achieve a certain thing, and then I've successfully meditated. So for a lot of people, they'll have this idea of, I need to achieve a blank state of mind, or a mind that's focused on a particular thing. And to me, the thing that we're attempting to achieve is not a goal point where we get there and then we're done, but rather it's a continuous process that we try to do over and over and over, to say, I want to focus on this thing. I'm currently focusing on this thing. I'm aware of the things that take my focus away, and I refocus back on what I want to focus. And that, to me, meditation is about that attempt to focus on something, rather than the success in focusing on it. It's more about the attempt to focus on something. And so in that sense, ADD may well make it really hard to sustain that focus, but ADD cannot stop you from attempting to focus on something. Even if you don't manage to focus on it, the fact that you're attempting the focus is the goal to me. That's in my mind, and as a psychologist and as the practice I try to instill in clients as a psychologically healthy thing to do, that attempt to focus on something rather than the achieving of focusing on that thing is far more important to me. And if you can get that right, then in my mind, well done, you've done it, you've meditated. And what I always like to say to clients that say things like that, to say, if you set aside 2 minutes for yourself to meditate, and at the beginning of those 2 minutes, you say, right, I'm going to focus on my breathing, and you achieve that for 2 seconds, and then your brain goes, ooh, a squirrel. And your brain is gone for 1 minute and 58 seconds. And at the end of that time, the timer goes off. So many people want to sit there and go, oh, damn it, I didn't focus on my breathing. Whereas really, I want to say, hey, congratulations. You chose to focus on your breathing and you attempted it. And that's what matters. It's okay to, definitely it's okay to struggle with it. I know they're not compatible. I agree 100% with you. That's why I keep it up. The attempt is the point for me. If at some point I achieve maintaining focus, great. If not, it still does a lot for me. And I'd almost ask, I wonder how you're measuring that outcome. You say, if at some point I achieve maintaining focus, how are you measuring that exactly? Because I wonder if there's a possibility you're being overly strict with yourself. You may, and I'm not saying it's definitely the case, but you may have a sense of, this is what I have to do in order to tick off this box of, I have successfully achieved maintaining focus. And it might be worth evaluating that again, but I don't know for sure. Okay, what was I doing? I was making glass, which I have no use for currently, but it's pretty and I want it. I made myself a beacon. I was digging a hole down in the ground. Let's grab this glass. We can store the... Oh, and there's quartz on my mining tool. Okay, let's go grab all this stuff off here. I think what I need to do actually is I need to put canisters on here. And what's this? Power cells? Yeah, I'll put the... Oh, nope. I'll put the power cells on this as well, because then I don't have to worry about pulling stuff off of the digging tool later. I could make some more tethers while I'm at it. Tether bundle. Let's go. And then we can drop off the resin. And I purposefully positioned my camera and my microphone earlier with the idea of, I want to sit up straight and have good posture, and then that failed miserably. So, oh well, I found myself hunching over. But that's another thing that I try to practice being mindful of. And I think, as much as I was asking earlier about people's methods of practicing mindfulness, I don't want to give the impression that, there's some secret technique to being mindful. Really, we all have the capability of just applying our focus to something. Hey, thank you, Dante. And I've got to say, when I set up the alerts previously for people following, I found that it's just the default GIFs, but I found that little multicolored sheep thing, and I just sort of went, yep, this is it. Rainbow colored sheep for people that are following. That seems like the best reward to me. So always love seeing that, both because people are following and because the sheep is really cute. No, this is not the hole. Okay, hang on. I went to the northwest to dig my hole. I remember saying that. So let's go back there and go jump down my hole of doom. And was it? Wait, was it this one? Where is base? Base is there. This would have been the northeast. I think this is a previous hole. Let's go have a look anyway. Dante, sorry your phone is dead, but thank you. Thanks for hanging out. And yeah, I hope you get some good sleep. Okay, I think... Oh, okay. I was down at this cave at a point. I just lost track of it along the way. Let's go. I really should make this ground a little more flat, and then I don't have to deal with all these bumps every time. Make myself a little pathway here. There was something up there which I already dug out, I think. And then what was down this way? Probably just more cave. And more death plants. I've been reading and using The Mind Illuminated, a complete meditation guide integrating Buddhist wisdom and brain science. So yes, there are levels of meditation in that book that have goals to reach to the next level. And Peregrine, I don't know that there's anything wrong with, having particular goals to reach in that. I think maybe I'm certainly not beating myself up for reaching, and that's perfect. Like I think you wouldn't do yourself much good if you were beating yourself up for not reaching those goals. So rather than just congratulating yourself when you do reach the goals. I want to tether. There we go. And I don't doubt, there are likely many more things you can do with meditation and sort of milestones to achieve in the process. But I guess I first and foremost, I want everybody to see it as a really accessible thing. And once we're at that point, then level it up, so to speak. Then to say, okay, great, I've found usefulness in it. Now let me add even more to that. Can I reach it? Yes, I can. What am I looking for? I see a light down there. As with all games, I'm attracted to shiny objects. So let's go towards that light, shall we? And I'm catching myself digging up resin, which I probably don't still. Well, you know it. I say now that I don't need it, and I'll probably need it in about 5 minutes. He calls them stages, not levels, but same thing, different words. Stage 0, meditate on a consistent basis. And that's a fair goal to say, hey, if you're going to do this thing, make it a habit first, because then at least you're going to consistently do it, as opposed to, mastering the ability but never using it. Rather have a habit of the minimal amount of something and derive some benefit from it, then master it in its entirety but never use it, and then you don't gain anything for it either. It's one of those things I always like to tell clients, to say, it's great to have aha moments with these tools, to go, oh, I can do this and I can learn to do that and this works this way, but if you don't use it, it's not going to do anything useful for you. It's just a bit of academic knowledge then. Come here. I thought this was... I'm very confused now. Okay, we'll put it there. And go towards whatever the shiny object was. Really not having luck with placing these things properly. Peregrine, out of curiosity, what's stage 1 then? I like that he calls it stage 0. It kind of sounds like it's almost like a way of saying you haven't really achieved much. This is 0 achievement. But I would have thought, call it stage 1 or stage 100 or stage something which denotes, hey, you've done something really cool. Any other suggestions you mean as far as practicing mindfulness? Ooh, wait, I found something here. Maybe as far as practicing mindfulness, I think something similar to what was it Dante that mentioned it earlier, that idea of starting your day off with thinking, okay, what am I doing today, and just making it's a lot of the mindfulness things are about creating habits of one or other form of mindfulness. But so maybe having like what I'd suggest to a lot of people is have an alarm that goes off on your phone at particular times in the day. And when that alarm goes off, all you want to do at that moment is take stock of everything as far as you can of what's going on inside you and outside of you. So to take your 5 senses, to say, okay, this is what I see around me, this is what I hear, what I smell, what I taste, what I touch. I've tuned in with my senses. This is what's going on with people around me. This person is upset about something. This person has a question for me. Connecting with what's going on with people around you. And then looking at your internal world as well to say, okay, what am I thinking about right now? What are the major thought themes going on? What are my emotions like right now? Have I got emotions pulled back from last week when that big thing happened? Have I got emotions attached to something in future? What's going on right now with my emotions, and then behaviorally, what am I doing right now? Other than yes, the cyclic one of I'm busy being mindful, but I'm sitting with bad posture in my chair. I'm thinking of drinking some hot chocolate. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. Just taking whatever amount of time you assign to it. It might be a minute. You might sort of have an alarm that goes off and you say, right, I'm going to stop for a minute and go, okay, what are all these things? As an IT person, the idea that a number other than 0, the default starting number, could have a meaningful purpose as the first level never entered my mind. I will say I've always liked the programming convention. Well, rather, I've always found it interesting, the convention of starting at 0. Because, when we grow up, I always think about like when people count time. Like as a kid, you'd have a race with somebody, or you'd time something, and you'd be like, ready, go, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, and everybody would count at 1. And I realized in later years, I thought, well, it does make more sense to start at 0, because then when I say 1 second has actually elapsed. So I get the idea of 0 making sense as a starting point, but I also think, in denoting nothing, if you achieve level 0, to my mind at least, it's got this implication of I haven't achieved anything really. Whereas at least level 1 is going, there's something more than 0 here. I've achieved something. Even if it's a 1, even if it's really small, it's still a good thing. Don't have the book. Peregrine, don't worry about, well, I mean, look, by no means am I trying to test your knowledge of this, but I am just curious over a general sense of it. Is stage 10 reaching nirvana or enlightenment, or I'm curious about what his process is. I like to hear about these other processes, and sometimes you hear something really cool and you sort of go, that'd be nice to adopt into my process as well. And sometimes it's just a point of interest that you kind of go, interesting that they do it that way. I don't do it the same way, but cool. What am I doing? I've got a bunch of resin. I want copper. I haven't found. Let's look a little further. Have I got tethers? Let's make some more tethers. Let's go a little bit further in. Maybe I can find some copper, and then we'll figure out after that. I guess he does stage 1, establishing a habit. Wait, so what? I thought. Curious then. What's the difference? They seem pretty similar. Meditate on a constant basis is stage 0, and stage 1 is establishing a habit. But yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not going to. He's got his way of doing it, and potentially it's worked for him and it's worked for people he's worked with, I guess. Oh, here we go. Stage 1, establish a practice. Stage 2, interrupted attention and overcoming mind wandering. Stage 3, extended attention and overcoming forgetting. I like that you're saying I misremembered and you just spoke about overcoming forgetting, so well done. Establish a practice. Interrupted attention and overcoming mind wandering, extended attention and overcoming forgetting. I think I get what he's going for. In many ways, I think what it seems like to me is he's taking what happens in meditation as you practice it more and more, and he's kind of explicitly putting it out. So like, that establishing a practice is that idea of just attempt it. Interrupted attention and an overcoming mind wandering is saying, hey, wait, stage 10 is tranquility and equanimity. Okay. Huh. I will admit I'm curious. I'm going to go read through the chat later to check what the guy's name was and the name of the book. I remember it was quite a long title. It'd be interesting to read up on it. I've got a really nice practical book on meditation, but it's sitting with my giant collection of, my collection of books in South Africa, waiting for me to go back and visit people there so that I can bring it back here. So yes, to an extent, nirvana. Okay. Maybe just he's taking a bit of a less, or he's taking a name for it with less religious connotations, and I can understand why he'd want to do that. Wow, he's a PhD neuroscientist. That's really cool. And I think I'm not really surprised that a PhD neuroscientist is practicing meditation and writing about meditation, because at that level he has to be aware of the benefits of meditation and the effects of it, and there's so much behind it that it's almost like for the small amount of effort needed to put into meditation, it's almost a sin that we don't all just practice it more regularly. But at the same time, I think people have their own versions of meditation, which they don't sit down and think, hey, I'm sitting down practicing meditation now, but really it's what they're doing in a lot of instances. So like even, people sitting down to groom their cat, to brush its fur for a little while, they'll often be quite meditative in that time. Thank you, Peregrine. I'll go, actually, I'm going to copy paste that text in the meantime. That way I can just paste it into Google after we're done with the stream and look it up there. Okay, I was looking for copper. Let's go see. I see stuff down here, but I don't think that's copper. I see an evil plant. And let's go see what's here. Is this? No, that's debris. Interesting. Oh wait, there's a carbon. I'll take it. And let's do the research quickly. Important rule is don't dig stuff right overhead, otherwise it smacks into you. And it's ironic, Peregrine, that people don't realize that it's meditation, and yet half the point of meditation is becoming mindful. And so it's a nice step to realize, hey, what am I doing right now? I'm effectively meditating. That's a very mindful thing to do. So oh, hello. Let's stand away from you. So I think, if I remember right, I think these things tend to explode. I think that one actually hit me. At the very least, they let off poison gas when you dig them up. Ooh, these ones look pretty. Coda late reply, that's a good point though. That's something other than zero can be encouraging. We count from zero for technical reasons, but there's no reason to do it if it's not. And Coda, I mean, it's not like it's actively hurting people most of the time, but again, just something to be. Ooh. Oh, I got organic. Okay, something to be aware of. That I think it is something that, and maybe particularly as someone in IT, it can be something that you don't give two thoughts to, but that maybe has some possibly minuscule effect on you, but possibly a big effect on you, and it's something worth understanding and being aware of, and I guess using to your advantage. I guess is all I'd say about it. Oh, I missed one. Come here, pretty research thingy. You just... What is going on there? You're just... Oh, hang on. There's a work light, yes. Okay, then I want... yes, light. That makes me so happy. I think in every other game I've just found the lights pretty quickly and not thought about it too hard. But I do like having a light. This... There we go. Oh, and there's more research over here. I think there's like 5 of them on there. Let's go have a look. Yes. And this one, and this one. And then this one needs power. Do I have... No, I don't have ingredients for a small generator, otherwise I'd open that up quickly. Okay, I think I might just call this the end of this round of the game. But for some reason, I think in some of the alpha versions, I think you couldn't finish, or you couldn't, what was it? I think in order to save, I think if I remember right, you had to run back to your base, and so it's kind of just become ingrained in me that that's something I'm supposed to do. So before I finish the game, I always run back to base, and then start the game next time and go, oh wait, what was I doing? And I have no idea. Wait, did I run past? No, I didn't. There's my ramp. And no, I don't want to point at the ground. Let's go running upstairs. Well, admittedly, I think there's probably a lot more that we could say about mindfulness, but if it's all right with you guys, I might leave it there for tonight, and we can pick up the topic. So I don't know if you guys saw, but I've updated my schedule for the streaming because I realized I did my first stream and then I made a million excuses to not get back to it. So now I've set myself a schedule that I'm planning to do weeknights or weekdays. I'm planning on Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 o'clock, and then I think Tuesday and Thursday at 11 o'clock is when I'm planning to stream. Just because where was I dropping this? I'd like to have a more regular schedule of it, but I'm also quite aware that there's a few streamers that I quite enjoy watching myself who do their streams quite late at night. So I thought I'd rather catch a daytime slot when possible. I don't know how that's going to affect any of you guys with streaming times, but we'll figure it out as we go along. If I realize there's no people, then we might have to adjust slightly. But yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. I'm going to sign off, and I will see you guys hopefully in the week sometime. If not here, then at least on somebody else's streams. Yeah. Have a good night, guys. I'll check you later. I don't even have a motto. Huh. I'll have to talk to Dr. Mick about that and set up a motto for myself. But yeah, good night, guys.